Hey guys, welcome back to markdillon.com. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, I would really appreciate it if you will click the subscribe button. So let me get right to tonight's question. It's from Scott. The email is titled Trust Issues After 3 Years. He says, I'm a new subscriber to your advice videos on YouTube. I've watched every single video now. Scott, we have to get you a better hobby. I have like 150 videos on here. But I do appreciate you watching, and thank you for the compliment. Um, he goes on to say, I'm a 22-year-old guy. I've been in a monogamous relationship for 3 years now with my 30-year-old boyfriend, and I need a little non-biased advice on a complicated issue. First off, my boyfriend is closeted and doesn't want his work to know about him being gay. When my boyfriend and I began dating, we had a very strong connection and still do. But after 9 months, he had a coworker move into his house because the coworker's wife kicked him out and wanted a divorce. The guy has been living there for the last 2 years rent-free, and my boyfriend is tired of him being there but doesn't have the balls to make him leave. I haven't been able to stay with him at his house in the 2 years since the coworker moved in. My boyfriend has been coming to visit me 2 nights a week. My boyfriend and I talk about our future. He's asked me to move in with him, but only when this other guy moves out. Meanwhile, I'm on the sidelines feeling like I'm on the back burner. Uh, it's very frustrating, and every time I ask my boyfriend when the roommate is moving out, I get the same answer, which is soon. And the email goes on, but I think you guys get the point. All right, Scott, listen. I hate to tell you this, but your relationship is on the back burner. It is on the sidelines. This is ludicrous. This is crazy. And you know what I think? You've probably been dealing with this so long now that even though you're annoyed by it, you don't realize just how crazy it is, how insane of a situation this is. Because I think if it hit you all at once, you would have you would be done with this. It would be over. But it's kind of like the old saying when, how do you boil a frog? You don't throw him into boiling water because he'll jump right out. But if you slowly warm the water up, he doesn't realize he's being boiled. And that's what happens to people in all kinds of situations. Instead of jumping out of a bad situation the second they notice it and saying, "Hey, wait a minute, this doesn't work for me. This is not good for me." They're either scared of conflict or they don't want to deal with the hassle of actually fixing the problem. So they just kind of put it on the back burner and they slowly, just let it go and go and go. And before you know it, they have found themselves in a complete mess, which is exactly what this is. I'm not so sure this is something that can be fixed, to be honest with you, because there's so much dysfunction going on here that it's almost mind-boggling. So where to start? What do I think you should do? Uh, if you're going to stay, which personally I don't know that I would do that. I just have no tolerance. But then again, I wouldn't have found myself in this situation to begin with because it would have taken about 3 to 6 months for me to say, you know what, I'm done. This is just not working for me. I have a very, very low tolerance for anything that disrupts my life or my overall contentment. Unless there's some extreme extenuating circumstances. If somebody or some situation is being disruptive to my life, they have to go. Life is entirely too short to keep yourself in these kind of situations. But I digress. What would I do if I wanted to stay? I think you need to have a serious talk with the boyfriend and say, listen, this is just really not working for me. This is very damaging to our relationship. This is causing me a lot of concern about whether there's any real potential for this relationship to go forward. So if you want this relationship to go forward, the person living with you, this roommate, has got to go. And I don't know whether you can do it in 2 months, 2 weeks, 6 months, but you tell me a reasonable timeline that you would like to implement, and then you begin working to get this guy out of there. It's got to be, I would say 6 months is at the extreme end, but, I would say a couple months. And once you guys agree to a timeline, that's it. If he doesn't have that guy out of there by or before the date on that timeline, Scott, you have to leave because this is just crazy. I mean, it makes no sense. So, but I think this is something that just has to be talked about a little bit further beyond what would I do to stay. But you've got to ask yourself a couple questions. First of all, uh, the elephant in the room is the fact that this boyfriend of yours is willing to let somebody else. It's not just about taking advantage of him, but he's letting somebody else harm your relationship. That's a big problem. If it was just him and the roommate and they were having their own strife and there was no boyfriend or partner involved, I'd say, you know what, this guy's kind of a wuss. He doesn't want to stand up for himself. He's being an enabler. He's being taken advantage of. But that's his business. The fact that he's not willing to stand up for your relationship, that is a bigger problem. And I would look at that very seriously. Also, sometimes when things don't make sense, it's not always for the reason the person is telling you. I would be a little bit suspicious that maybe something was going on between this roommate who's living there for free for 2 years. It's not just that the roommate won't leave, and he's been there for 2 years, but he's also living there rent free. That's a little bit strange because even if your boyfriend wanted to help him at the start, the idea of just letting someone, some strange coworker, live with you for free and never to ask them for any kind of rent or help with utilities or however you want to divide up a reasonable roommate agreement is a little suspicious to me. So, I would be concerned that this guy doesn't have the backbone to stand up for himself or your relationship. I would be a little bit concerned that maybe there's more than meets the eye. I would also be concerned that perhaps because your boyfriend is so closeted, maybe this guy is blackmailing him. Maybe he's figured out that your boyfriend is gay and he's threatening to tell the coworkers or something. But there's got to be something else to this story, unless your boyfriend is just so incredibly weak and has no backbone whatsoever that he's just going to be a doormat for any and everybody who walks through his life. In which case, that's another problem you would have to deal with at some point. This is really bad, Scott. To me, there's not a glimmer of hope in this situation. And I know that's probably not what you want to hear. And my guess is you've probably put up with it because you're young and this is your first really serious relationship. You're 22, you've been together for 3 years. That's quite a while for a guy your age. So I give you credit for trying to make it work, and I give you credit for following your heart. But I'm not so sure that your heart might be overriding all the other good judgment that you have. You might be trying to work through this because in your mind you've envisioned this is the guy for you, and you really want to make a life together and all that kind of stuff. But you're taking on quite a project. You must be an incredible do-it-yourselfer, because this is a big project if you choose to go forward with it. And I just don't know that I would have the patience to deal with that. There's an old saying that I really like, which is, "He who turns the other cheek is often slapped with the other hand." And keep that in mind, Scott, because you can only allow somebody to get away with telling you something that's not true for so long. If your boyfriend is telling you, "Oh, he's going to leave soon," every time you ask, and this has been going on for 2 years now, you're actually becoming complicit in this dysfunctional just mess, this chaotic mess, because you're choosing to remain in it. So, I wouldn't accept the idea of soon any longer. I would have a very serious talk with him and establish a fixed date by which time this loser of roommate of his has to be gone. Think about this. This roommate is getting divorced. His wife kicked him out. Now he's mooching off of your boyfriend, living there for free. And this guy is a loser. He's pathetic. He's, it's just outrageous. And I would also be concerned with the fact that your boyfriend is even willing to deal with such a low life like that. I mean, it's one thing to be taken advantage of by somebody that you're close with, and you've got your kind of your emotions invested in this person or whatever it may be. But the fact that any loser can walk in off the street and take advantage of your boyfriend is a big problem too. So you asked me at the end of your email whether I think you should move on. My personal answer is yes. But if you want to give it a try, give it a try. But I would not give this thing more than 6 months without having it fixed. And once the roommate does move out, you need to have a real conversation with your boyfriend about how he got here in the first place, and what he's going to do to make sure that he doesn't allow other people to intrude on your relationship going forward. So Scott, there you go. Thanks for your question, guys. Thanks for tuning in to markdillon.com.